Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. We're very sorry that His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj is double booked, so he could not speak. We'll try to have him another day in this week, but unfortunately, I have to replace for him because it was really the last moment. Uh, so please bear with me. Hare Krishna. So I just thought we will see some details about. Already some of the speakers have spoken, but I just wanted to touch upon some details of Canto 8 about Manus, and also I'll be speaking on a topic of what is the journey of Srimad Bhagavatam. What does a seeker or what does a devotee who's beginning Srimad Bhagavatam to read? How is it arranged in such a way that we can go to a higher level of consciousness? So we will see these topics in brief. So as we all know, we have heard from many other speakers earlier also that Srimad Bhagavatam has 10 topics. Every Mahapurana is supposed to have 10 topics in it to be qualified as a Mahapurana. So we always hear this term that Srimad Bhagavatam is a Mahapurana. So we always hear this term, Srimad Bhagavat Mahapurana. So what does that mean to be called as a Mahapurana? So it has to explain 10 subject matters to be qualified as a Mahapurana. So those subject matters are creation, secondary creation, like that. So many topics are there. And in that, one of the topic is Manmantra. Manmantra means the reign of Manus. So why is it included, that we will see later. But that is the topic which is predominantly discussed in this canto. It is not that each canto represents one of those topics, like Yashodhara Prabhu explained yesterday. That is not very exclusive to any canto. No topic is exclusive to any of the cantos. However, we can't also not observe that some of the cantos predominantly discuss a certain subject matter. So, in that sense, we can confidently say that the Canto 8 predominantly discusses about Manmantra, that is the reign of Manus. So now, if we want to, we can discuss these three topics before we enter the presentation. That what is the duty of a Manu? Why is it so important to discuss, to have this topic as part of Bhagavatam, and also what is the importance of Manu, means what does they do, what is the duty of Manu. So the Manus and their laws are actually meant to give right direction to people in life. If we remember, Jai Jagannath Prabhu in his class explained how everyone wants to live in this. While we are here, when we are in this world, we all want to live nicely or perfectly. So we all need a role model to mold our lives accordingly. So Manus are those people from whom we can learn or take the right directions to live in this world. So that is the purpose of learning about the Manus here. So, and what is a Manmantra? We just saw Manmantra is the period of a Manu, ruling period of a Manu, and we will see who are Manus and how many Manus are there in a day, that we will see soon. And in each Manmantra, that means in the each period of Manu when he is ruling, there are totals in that period 6 personalities or 6 group of people or individuals are appointed during each of those Manmantra by the Supreme Lord. So them also we will discuss. So before that, I just wanted to say show that what is a Manmantra. That we all know there are 4 yugas, 4 ages, which is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga. So these are the 4 different ages which form one Divya Yuga. Means this Divya Yuga contains 4 different ages, which is gradually diminishing in its religiosity and spiritual attitude. So in the Satya Yuga, the religious principles are followed predominantly 100%, and then it reduces one fourth each time. So in the Kali Yuga, it's the low on it in its lowest trajectory. So combining these three or these four yugas form one Divya Yuga, and 71 such Divya Yugas actually 71 such Divya Yugas actually make one Manvantara. So so that is what 71. We are just in one Kali. We are in Kali Yuga and we think it is very long. But four of the ages put together makes a Divya Yuga, and then 71 such Divya Yugas make one Manvantara. So that is a long period, long time. And that is the ruling period of a Manu. So 14 such Manus actually make the day of Brahma. So then we can think this is just a day of Brahma, and how big is the life of Brahma, which is according to his calculation 100 years. So that much big time chunk a Manu rules. So for him to rule, so then he needs help. So Krishna arranges for 6 persons or 6 various aspects to be arranged in a particular ruling time of a Manu. That is the Manu himself, that Krishna chooses the best personality who's who's capable of doing this duty. But the whole purpose of arranging all this by Krishna is to deliver the conditioned souls. So the ultimate ruler, if he is not Krishna conscious, then the followers also cannot be Krishna conscious. So that's why we see Srila Prabhupada, many purports he wrote addressing it to the leaders of the society. The reason is because if the leaders change, then accordingly the followers also will change. So that is why Krishna chooses a capable devotee as a Manu to rule this whole Manvantra period, and to support him, because he has certain duties. So in order to support him, he gathers the crew for him, and in that mainly the sages, because they have duty of propagating religious principles. Sages, Indra, who is the leader of the demigods, and the demigods whom he will rule over, and also the Lord's avatars, that the Lord himself appears in various incarnations in the ruling period of a Manu, and also Manu's sons. Manu also has a duty of populating this universe. So in order to populate this universe, he creates a family lineage which continues that activity of populating this universe. So that is done by the Manu's sons. So these are the various personalities who appear in each Manvantara. So, and before we get into the duties of these 6 personalities, which is what is being discussed in the current topic, current chapter of Canto 8, let us see what happened in the Canto 8 from the beginning, and then we can go to that. So, as I said earlier, Canto 8 is predominantly discussing Manvantara. So, the chapter 1 begins with the description of the first 4 Manvantaras, because we saw like how there are 14 manvantras in a day of in a day of Brahma. So the first 4 manvantras were discussed, and then in the from chapters 2 to 5, the story of Gajendra, which happened in the fourth manvantara, and then the fifth Manu's period was discussed. After that, naturally, from chapters 5 to 12, we were discussing about the sixth Manu, who is named Chakshusha, and the Manvantara is called as Chakshusha Manvantara. So each Manvantara is named after the Manu himself. So the sixth Manvantara, which is Chakshusha Manvantara, when Shukadeva Goswami was explaining that, he spoke about that how in this Manvantara the churning of the milk ocean happened, and Lord Shiva drank the poison, and the Supreme Lord in the form of Mohini Murti bewildered Lord Shiva. So when Parikshit Maharaj heard this, he wanted to know more details. So that is where, so we have been seeing this pastime of churning of the milk ocean over so spanning over so many chapters, and that ended in the chapter 12, and then now in the chapter 13, a brief description of the present Manmantra and the future Manmantras was given. So that means this particular whole section is discussing about the current day of Brahma. So the current day of Brahma, we are on the seventh Manmantra. So that is why the present Manmantra and the future Manmantras are described very briefly, and the past Manmantras were described in detail or in more as Parikshit Maharaj requested more details, they were presented. And the present Manmantra is called as Vaivasvata Manmantra because the Manu's name is Vaivasvata. And the chapter 14 that we are studying currently is discussing the duties of the six personalities appointed during each Manmantra. So we just saw that each Manmantra has six different personalities who are being appointed, and what is the duty of those six personalities appointed during each mantra? That is the subject matter of the current chapter. So we have actually seen a few of the verses, and today's verse we will be seeing soon. So the duties of the six person appointed during each mantra is the sages who are appointed. Basically, their duty is to propagate or distribute Vedic knowledge and re-establish the Vedic principles at the end of each Chatur Yuga. That means there is Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali Yuga. Because in the Kali Yuga, the religious principles actually uh, are degraded and the Vedic knowledge is lost pretty much towards the end of Kali Yuga. So when the next Yuga begins, when the next Chatur Yuga begins, they actually they they actually re-establish, spread and distribute the Vedic knowledge and re-establish the Vedic principles. That's the duty of the sages. Manu's duty himself is to establish the system of religion. That is the duty of Manu himself. And the Manu's sons, they execute the orders of the Manu and also populate the universe with their descendants. Indra, who is the leader of the demigods, along with the demigods, they rule the three worlds and then take care of various Adi Devic aspects. Like Indra himself is in charge of rains. So likewise, each of the demigods have a certain portfolio. So they take care of that during the period of Manu. And then last, the Supreme Lord. What is his role? Here we can see how the Supreme Lord is so merciful. We can see how wonderful is actually the Supreme Lord here, that how is he supporting this whole Manmantra? He is the main support for the Manmantra, and we will see how he is doing that. The Supreme Lord appears in different incarnations in each Yuga. As Yuga Avatar, he comes. Apart from that, he comes as Shakti-Avesh avatars like Sanaka, Sanatan, or Dattatreya, or Yajnavalkya in the form of various sages like Vyasadeva and so many sages, Narada Muni. So, in the form of various sages who are specifically Shakti Avesh avatars, he gives instructions in spiritual knowledge or in prescribed duties, that is Varnashram Dharma, or in the principles of mystic yoga and so on. So, he gives various varieties of spiritual sadhana, spiritual paths. He instructs them in through the sages or in the small, or he empowers them to do that. So he, in one sense, he appears as them, even though they are living entities. They are empowered by the Supreme Lord to actually propagate dharma. Because who is the source of all dharma? Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. All dharma actually begins or emanates from the Supreme Lord. So it is only he who can propagate it, but he appoints or he entrusts qualified individuals to do that on his behalf. So he appears himself in each yuga to teach certain yuga dharma, and also he appears in the form of various sages to propagate religious principles. So in this way, the Supreme Lord is the foundation, is the basis or the support for all existence, and here specifically for the execution of the whole purpose of the Manmantra, the Supreme Lord's appearance is very crucial. So now that we have seen this particular section, so I'll just quickly read the verse for today and the purport, and then we can go to the topic. So today's verse is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 14, verse 6. So far we saw what is the position of the Chapter 14, which is the system of universal management, describing the duties of the six personalities who appear in a Manmantra. So now we are getting into the verse. Palayanti Prajapala Yavadantam Vibhagasha Yagya Bhaga Bhujo Deva Ye Cha Tatrangita Sutai. Translation and purport by His Divine Sadacharana Aranda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: to enjoy the results of sacrifices, yagyas, the rulers of the world, namely the sons and grandsons of Manu, discharge the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead until the end of Manu's reign. The demigods also share the results of these sacrifices. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. This parampara system extends from Manu to Ikshvaku, and from Ikshvaku to his sons and grandsons. The rulers of the world, in the line of hierarchy, execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Parampara system. Anyone interested in peaceful life must participate in this Parampara system and perform yagyas. As Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the Parampara system of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we must perform Sankirtana Yagya all over the world. Yagyahi Sankirtana Praya Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this age of Kali, and he will be easily satisfied if the Sankirtan movement is spread vigorously all over the world. This will also make people happy without a doubt. So here the translation is: to enjoy the results of sacrifices, the rulers of the world, namely the sons and the grandsons of Manu, discharge the orders of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada is taking this principle of yajna from this particular translation. Yajna bhaga bhujo deva. So the enjoyers of the results of the yajnas. So he's taking up this concept of yajnas from this translation, and he's elaborating in the purport. Prabhupada explains how the sons and the grandsons are actually a parampara. So there is one kind of parampara, there is seminal parampara, or there is a spiritual parampara. So the parampara is based on seminal connection. Okay, a person is born in a particular family in as descendants. So there is a parampara, or there is also the parampara of knowledge transfer. So the seed could be a physical, the seminal seed, or the seed of knowledge. So when a guru gives knowledge to the disciple, so he is sowing a seed. So that knowledge seed also propagates a parampara. So Prabhupada is saying there is parampara. So the rulers of the world in the line of hierarchy are actually in the order of in the parampara system. And Prabhupada makes a nice statement. Anyone interested in peaceful life must participate in this parampara system and perform yajnas. So anyone who wants to actually lead a peaceful life, they have to understand that the knowledge how to live in this world, that knowledge needs to come from a higher authority who has actually created this world. And then he has propagated, he has told, okay, we give this simple analogy generally, how we all buy a washing machine, or we buy a fridge, or we buy any gadget, electronic gadget, then we also get a manual how to use that. So we can say, I buy a gadget and I use it how I want. I'll press this button, it should switch on. No, there it is designated. You press here, the device will be switched on. You can't say it should operate according to mine because I have paid for it. No. So we think when we come into the world, we can behave in any way, and and everything should happen as we desire. But the world is created by the Supreme Lord, and He has created orders. So for us to understand, we need to understand the manual. So Krishna is propagating is that knowledge through the parampara. So the Ikshvaku, Manu, they are also have passing down the same knowledge. And then Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that how this knowledge got lost over time. And then he spoke the same knowledge of this parampara to Arjuna. And that we have today. That Bhagavad Gita we have today, which is the essence of all the knowledge that he wanted to give us. So Krishna has given this knowledge through the parampara system, and we know Srila Prabhupada has brought that knowledge all over the world. So with that knowledge, by receiving that knowledge, we can lead a peaceful life. But knowledge, generally, just hearing knowledge is not sufficient. It needs to be implemented in life. So, and that's what Prabhupada is saying here. Not just participating in the parampara system and also performing yajnas, performing sacrifice. That means actually implementing the knowledge that we receive from the parampara. Because yajna vai Vishnu, it is said in the Vedic literatures, yajna is performed for the pleasure of Vishnu, for the pleasure of Krishna. So when we receive any knowledge, for that matter, anything that we do in our lives, the purpose is to ultimately to please Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is giving an order here. Okay, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are in the parampara system of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we follow in the footsteps of the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically teaching or performing this yajna called the Sankirtan yajna. So yajna Sankirtana Praya Rejantihi Suneri. So it's a Bhagavatam verse which states the about the purpose of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance and mission. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has, in this age of Kali, has easily given this method of Sankirtan movement, and Prabhupada is saying we should spread this vigorously all over the world. And this will also make people happy without a doubt. So this particular form of yajna also will make people happy. So Srila Prabhupada earlier said, anyone interested in peaceful life must participate in this parampara system. And here Srila Prabhupada is saying, anyone who follows this Sankirtan movement, Sankirtan yajna, who performs, will also become happy. So we can check in our own lives. If it's not that we have to, our main motive in life is we have to be peaceful and happy. That is not the primary concern. The primary concern is pleasing Krishna. But at the same time, it does not mean if we are pleasing Krishna, that we will also be peaceful and happy. It's not that I have to suffer always and Krishna will be pleased, and that's the only highest end. Even if we suffer, we don't mind continuing our things to give pleasure to Krishna. But that does not mean Krishna will always make us keep us miserable. That's not necessary. So it's also an art of living. So Srila Prabhupada, is a great devotee. So he came, he risked everything to give pleasure to Krishna. But at the same time, he was not miserable. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the miseries that I experience in your service, O my Lord, is my greatest ecstasies. So there will always be challenges in this world while trying to execute devotional service in our own lives and in helping others executing devotional service. However, it's not that it will only be always challenges in this world, nor is it going to be always smooth in this world. So whether challenges come or whether it is easy to perform, we stick to the principle of giving pleasure to Krishna through our endeavors. So that does not stop. So however, we also can check, I'm performing bhakti, I'm trying to please Krishna. How am I doing? What is an internal check is very necessary in the process of spiritual life. So without checking what is my internal heart, Am I actually satisfied? Am I actually hankering for control? Am I hankering for power? Am I hankering for material things? What is happening in my heart really? Am I pushing everything under the rug and going before Krishna and saying, I love you because that's the right thing to say? Do I actually have any kind of, what are the other feelings in my heart? So to, to face our own inner reality takes a lot of courage. So just mechanically doing devotional activities can take us to some extent in spiritual life, but it will not be helpful in the long run if you're just doing it mechanically without understanding how is the process working in me. So it is very important to actually look at our own selves. How am I actually performing my devotional service? Am I just saying things because they are the right things to say? Do I believe in things because they are the right things to believe? Or do I actually want to believe in them? And come from a stage, okay, today I'm not there. I'm not in a place where I can only do everything for the sake of Krishna's pleasure. At least we need to understand that and we need to start implementing that. So it is better to always take a stop of where is our consciousness today. We don't want to dupe ourselves by saying, oh, all I do is only for pleasure of Krishna. Yes, that is the ideal. If you are there, yes, well and good. But if you are not there, at least accept and use that to turn to Krishna. Okay, I can't do anything for the pleasure of Krishna, so let me go and enjoy life. Let me do everything for my pleasure. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying if you understand that if anybody who understands that I'm not in a position to just please Krishna by my activities, I have various other things, then at least let's bring it to Krishna. Let's bring it to Krishna and say, Krishna, today my heart is in a position where I can't actually just do everything for your pleasure. I have so many other things going on in my heart. So please help me. Come, descend in my heart and purify. I only have some ability to endeavor, but it's only by your mercy anything can be achieved. So I will endeavor sincerely by trying to chant attentively, by trying to practice spiritual life, however much distractions I am being my mind is being plagued by. There is n number of instructions which is flowing in like rivers of desires are flowing into my mind. I'm trying my best to control my mind, but I can't control my mind just by my ability. So I need your mercy. So we will only turn to Krishna for his mercy and pray helplessly the day we realize how helpless we are actually. If we always think I can do this, then we will never turn to Krishna. So there is nothing wrong in realizing our smallness, because humility is not just uh, inferiority complex. Humility is understanding how great God is, how wonderful God is, and how merciful God is, and then also realizing how small we are. Because without realizing how small we are, we cannot realize how great God is. So they both go hand in hand. So taking an internal stop every day can make us understand the reality of our precarious condition in this world. And then that we can use that feeling to turn to Krishna and pray to him sincerely so that with his mercy we can actually advance in spiritual life. And also every day we can do this activity of self-affirming ourselves, like, yes, today has been given by Krishna to me mercifully, so that I can go close to him at least at least a small bit. I can at least take a small step towards Krishna today, because Krishna has given this day to me again. So just self-affirming ourselves right in the morning. Yes, today I'll try my best to make at least a small step towards Krishna. So turning to him and praying, and in that way being consciously practicing bhakti. We don't want to be unconsciously practicing bhakti, because it is not very helpful in the long run. So we see devotees practicing for many years, they do the right things, they say the right things, but their internal heart is very dry. Uh, or they are like finding faults, or they just take pleasure in finding faults in others, or speaking about others' bad qualities. So this is not the condition of a healthy heart. So to have a healthy heart is to actually be feel satisfied, happy, and peaceful. And there is nothing wrong while living as a devotee to feel peaceful and happy in this world. It's not against the principles. Krishna does not reprimand us for being happy as devotees, because many devotees think if I am a devotee, I should suffer. All pleasure goes to Krishna and I suffer. No, that is not a right understanding. So, as we practice devotional service, the more we actually please Krishna, if you are in a right consciousness, you will also feel satisfied. A satisfied heart never finds faults with others. A satisfied heart never tries to bring down others, never tries to condemn others, and rather it has a merciful attitude of trying to help others. So let us have develop, or those who feel like they don't have that can endeavor to develop that satisfied heart by turning to Krishna and taking his help. So it is already 7:50. The actual topic that I wanted to present, I did not end up presenting. Uh, okay, I was supposed to speak on the topic of evolution of consciousness, how Srimad Bhagavatam is taking towards that. So I can present it in a few minutes, because this was a last moment class. I had prepared this for some other concept, so I'm just presenting the raw version of it. So how in the few minutes that we have, I was trying to explain and share how the whole Bhagavatam is arranged in such a way that any sincere individual under the guidance of Guru goes through this journey of Srimad Bhagavatam can achieve a state of law of God. So that is why the scripture is arranged in such a way. And that is why Srila Prabhupada always says, like Yashodhadalal Prabhu, I think yesterday was also discussing this point, how that Srila Prabhupada always suggests that we go through the cantos one by one. We go through the Bhagavatam cantos in an order, because there is a point in that arrangement. It's not random. It's not arranged in such a way that, okay, Sukadeva Goswami thought I want to speak this, now he spoke. No, there is also an order here. So Vyasadeva has put things in a particular way for to take us through a journey. So this journey of a sincere sadhaka can help him evolve his consciousness to evolve from the stage of in being inquisitive to the stage of a highest perfectional stage of love of God. And who's the example for this? The the audience of the Srimad Bhagavatam themselves. So there are various audiences in Srimad Bhagavatam. The primary audience is Parikshit Maharaj. However, we also see Shaunakadi rishis are also the primary audiences of this conversation, because through the lens of Suta Goswami and Shaunakadi rishi's conversation, Vyasadeva has chosen to present this. So, what is the significance that Vyasadeva chooses to present this account not as very first person account, not as a second person account as Shukadeva Goswami? He chose to present this as a third person account as Suta Goswami speaking about what was discussed by Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Why? What is the understanding behind this? Did Vyasadeva do something random? If we try to understand here, surely Vyasadeva has some purpose in trying to present it through the lens of Suta Goswami and Shaunakadi rishis. So the understanding is Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadeva Goswami are discussing, but who are they and what is the purpose of their discussion? That is not specifically mentioned in their own discussion. They don't introduce themselves. Hi, how are you? Everyone here, this is Shukadeva Goswami, I'm so and so. No, they don't introduce themselves like that. So they want, but Suta Goswami described their life, introduced them to the audience of Shaunakadi rishis. So that is one reason that Vyasadeva chooses them. And also, The journey of Bhagavatam's evolution of consciousness can be shown through the Shaunaka Rishis. If we all know, Rupa Goswami analyzes the Shaunaka Rishis as, or classifies them as, inquisitive in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Artho, Artharthi, Jigyasu, Jnani cha Bharatarshava. So the four categories of people who go to Krishna, Artho, Artharthi, Jigyasu, and that is the inquisitive. The Artho means one who is actually distressed, one who is in need of wealth, one who is inquisitive of knowledge, and one who is a knower of knowledge, who wants to know more about God. So there is a difference between inquisitive and jnani. Inquisitive is someone who wants to know about anything. He's just generally inquisitive. But jnani is inquisitive about the Supreme Lord specifically, the absolute truth specifically. He doesn't know completely about absolute truth, but he has a more direct interest in knowing about the absolute truth. Inquisitive is someone who knows anything under the sun they are inquisitive about. You see people like that. Like small kids are sometimes like that. So the Shaunaka Rishis are pretty much like that, because all the Puranas you go, Shaunaka Rishis will be there in the audience asking all kinds of questions. How the Pitras are performing, how to do Shraddha, all kinds of Puranas you go, their questions are like all over the place. So with that kind of an inquisitive attitude, they also asked questions about Bhagavatam to Sutta Goswami. But there is a difference. They heard so many Puranas from Sutta Goswami, but they hearing Bhagavatam is a complete different activity. They heard so many Puranas, their inquisitiveness only probably increased or to some extent satisfied. But there was not a whole change in consciousness. So they walked into Bhagavatam with the same inquisitiveness. That is why Rupa Goswami is calling them as inquisitive. But by hearing this particular scripture, they gradually changed from being inquisitive towards devotees of Krishna, exclusive devotees or exclusive transcendentalists dedicated to the aspect of uh, Bhagavan, aspect of the absolute truth. So they were just spiritually inquisitive, but they became not just Brahmavadis or Paramatmavadis. They became devotees, they became bhaktas, they became complete worshippers of the absolute truth in the form of the Bhagavan aspect. So that happened through this evolution of consciousness, that happened through the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is how Srimad Bhagavatam is arranged for us to also evolve our consciousness. So in short, in 2 minutes, I'll present this. So the first aspect explained in the first canto is understanding Krishna as the goal and Bhakti as the process. That is first established. So that confusion is solved. And then it establishes the position and importance of Bhakti in comparison with other process. So as soon as you tell the sages, hey, Bhakti is the process to follow, they tell, hey, what about yoga? What about demigod worship? What about karma kanda sacrifices? What about Ashtanga yoga? What about Krama Mukti? So all these questions come. So in the second canto, all those things are answered. Establishing the position and importance of the devotional service. And then, now that we know this is the process, but we need to understand who we are. How are we struggling in this world? So that is understood by, in the third canto, understanding the relationship of the soul with the material world. How things are created in this universe. How complicated it is. How much thought has gone into that, and why is it created in such a way. So all those things are discussed. So we understand who am I and what is my relationship with the material world. I'm not in a place to enjoy. I'm in a prison. I'm stuck here. I have to get out of this place. So that concept is explained in the third canto. And then Bhagavatam explains okay, now he understands this is I'm a soul, this is the material world, this is the process. So he engages in this process. But no journey is without obstacles. No journey is always a bed of roses to walk. So there are going to be obstacles. So how to overcome those obstacles? And that is explained in Canto 4. Like you see, someone like Daksha, someone like Sati, they're struggling, or Dhruva Maharaj, they have desires. So all kinds of obstacles that come in the path of a sadhaka. And then understanding the various avenues for Jiva's enjoyment. That is explained in the fifth canto. There are so many varshas, how is the Jambudweep, all those various places in the material world. Don't think on it. higher planets are places for enjoyment. There also people are worshipping. So the Vaivasvat Manu is living in Ramyaka Varsha, worshipping Matsya Avatar. So this particular great devotee is living in this particular part of the universe. They are worshipping Nashingadev, they are worshipping Hari, they are worshipping or Varahadev. In this way, various great personalities and their position in the spiritual, in the material world, and what they are doing. And what happens though for those who are sinful? There are hellish planets, how they are suffering, everything is given. Oh, there's so much suffering. How am I going to go through this? What if I fall down? Okay, the Lord gives a special protection to devotees. Ajamil, he fell down, but Krishna protected him. So that special protection is given. I'm willing to practice spiritual life, but I need support. Yes, that support system is explained. The Varnashram system is explained in Canto 7. If you're pure like Prahlad Maharaj, you can directly practice. Otherwise, you need support system. That support system is explained. Yes, that support system is established, Varnashram, but with ages, it declines. With Kali Yuga, everything is dismantled. No. So Krishna helps protect that support system itself. He re-establishes that support system through Manmantra. That's why we are reading Canto 8. How Krishna cares for us on all levels. Krishna is not just, he thinks, I only care for your spiritual life. No, Krishna cares all aspects of our lives. He is the one who is giving us everything, even today, and even before we became devotees. Any form of life we were, Krishna protects that support system. He establishes that and protects that. And then inspiration to practice. Okay, just having a good material life will not work. We need inspiration. So we need to hear about Lord and his devotees. That happens in Canto 9. And now we are ready to hear ultimately, finally about Krishna. So that's what happens in Canto 10. And the reiteration of other sadhanas in Canto 11. And what if you don't take advantage of this whole thing? You will come back to material life. You will suffer in this material existence again and again. That is explained in Canto 12. So in this way, the whole journey of evolution of consciousness is arranged in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we don't need to neglect any aspect of Bhagavatam. It's all done with a purpose. So Manmantra is not a boring subject. Manmantra is not an irrelevant subject. Manmantra is not a non-Krishna conscious subject. Understand the whole arrangement of Krishna, then we will be able to appreciate Krishna's offering in a better way, in a more matured way. So thank you for tolerating me. I again beg your forgiveness for replacing in the place of His Holiness Jayadeva Swami Maharaj. He got double booked by mistake, so he had to go to another place, and sorry that I had to speak today. So thank you very much. We don't have any time for anything else at this point. So let's go for darshan. Thank you all very much for joining.